fam, we've seen all this malarkey and hoopla and hogwash all over the internets about AOC.
I've been dying to talk about AOC. Okay.
We haven't stopped because really it's a great unmasking.
It is a great unmasking. We called it. Niko called it. A bunch of people in the chat called it. When we started criticizing AOC, we started getting trashed by a lot of people, even on the ground that we knew, because a lot of those people with us believed in AOC. Like we said many times before, we went to fucking fundraisers. We organized a fundraiser for her all the way in California for this New York candidate for Congress.
I went to Queens.
He went to Queens, had pizza with AOC.
Yes. Good pizza too.
AOC, the first time I met her was in New York at a bar when she was campaigning in 2017. And that, like, so this isn't like, oh, you don't know. No, this is like, we're telling you, a lot of people were swindled, including us in the very beginning. We were like, oh, like, she seems like a type of Bernie candidate. And then you start looking at the details, which we're not going to go over this time here. But I have been gathering more information regarding to her bartender storyline, where she was working for Ted Kennedy, and she also went to Africa in this program that is riddled in CIA, in CIA connections.
Fam, 100. You are being a conspiracy theorist.
No. This is what happened. I was looking at this information, and somebody had posted this as well. And there are actual articles talking about this, but somebody had posted these articles on Twitter. I was looking at it, and the person's profile, as soon as I got done looking at it, said disappeared. Yeah. Disappeared from Twitter. Yeah. So I have been investigating. I'm going to talk about that in a separate video because there's a lot of things that have to yet be unmasked about AOC. But let's start, fam, with one of the things that pisses me off the most. And Jonny, I want to hear what you think about this too, because as an immigrant that went through the process of immigration, that understands U.S. imperialism and what it has done to the global South, specifically Central and South America, and it has been a cooperative effort by the Democrats and Republicans to do this because it's one big aisle. AOC sat there and gaslighted people about how it's different under Biden, how Biden isn't ripping children away from their mothers, weaponizing not only the identity of Latinos, but also the emotions of everybody else. Also simultaneously saying that if anybody who says differently is pretty much a terrible person that is here to disrupt, okay? She literally continues, doubles down on this whole thing of calling everybody who is criticizing the Biden administration bad faith actors.
Yeah.
So,
which is it's just like an uber anti-intellectual argument. It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. You want to play the video?
Yeah, let's play the video.
So the first thing I want to say is that the fact that this keeps happening over and over and over again, the political failure by both. And very clear about that because now the first thing I want to say is that the fact that this keeps happening over and over and over again is a political failure by both parties. And I want to be very clear about that because I don't want to draw false equivalence. What is happening here is not the same as what happened during the Trump administration, where they took babies out of the arms of their mothers and deported their families and permanently traumatized these children, some of whom we don't know will ever be reunified with their family again, which is a level of human rights violation that is just simply not the same. Both of these things are barbaric and they're wrong. But when you rip a baby out of the hands of a mother, you cannot draw the same comparison. And anyone who is trying to do that is doing a profound disservice to the cause of justice. So I don't want to excuse any of this, but I don't think we should also get them twisted together, because one is not the same. And we cannot dust that under the rug. And by the way, those families are owed reparations, period.
The virtue signal at the very end, I like too as well.
Yeah.
The family's own reparations. No shit.
No shit.
Like no.
So we're going to have to give reparations to pretty much everybody in the global South, everybody in Central America, South America, Middle East. Hello.
Middle East. Hello. Like, I think Libya is due for a little couple reparations there, fam. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Maybe Syria, Yemen. I don't know.
Hello. What do you think that the United States as an empire is funded on?
I just want to say really quick before you go off, because I know you're going to go off. She's so full of shit, and I've said this before. We've always said this before. I kind of really lost my hope on her completely when she was gaslighting people about the whole fake news, when she had a chance to go after freaking a Zuckerberg about, when it came to about, what was it called? The company, Johnny, it's Cambridge Analytica. When she went, that was what the hearing was about, her giving information, and she twisted things. So we knew what she was. We knew right there. She exposed herself there. We've been saying it for a long time. If this doesn't expose it, this is not as bad as that, and you have to settle for this form of barbarianism because it's not as bad as this barbarianism. I mean, she's completely talking like CIA talking points. So
no, I mean, did you guys hear what she said at the end? Right? Anybody who says otherwise is just no. Like she is attacking not only saying that it's different, right? She's saying like, no, this is not the same thing as Joe Biden, is Trump ripping the babies from the arms. She's weaponizing people's emotions. This is classic pathos right now. This is like a tactic, a strategy to use people's emotions to say, yeah, you're right. And it's easy for them to do that because, of course, Trump is the orange man bad. He was the outright guy that spoke against immigrants, right? But Joe Biden in 2007 wanted to build a giant fence 7 miles long. He was the one that brought that up. And the Obama administration under Hillary Clinton, of course, we've talked about it ad nauseum, the regime change wars that led to this situation. And we're going to talk even more about that. But I have to say that the worst thing for me that she is doing here is going after anybody who disagrees, because this is a direct, pretty much a threat to everybody who is calling her out. And the day that AOC started getting exposed even more with this video, all the attacks on everybody who has been criticizing her online began in a very coordinated fashion, not just against us, but against pretty much everybody who has called her out and does actual journalism. The Gray Zone, Glenn Greenwald, Richard Medhurst, like all of these people that have been, targeting AOC, Ryan Knight. And it's like, okay, what this is like interesting if you look at it in retrospect with what she said in that email where she blasted people saying,
I was about to say
fine, anybody
the very next day we were suspended, right?
This is violence. You think this is a fucking conspiracy? Guys, come on.
The very next day, us, Niko, Graham, Frank Analysis, the very next day at the same time, with that, you guys actually think it's her? I don't know, fams, but it's just awfully suspicious that the day after that letter came out, there was a group of us, and it's the same group who's been very critical of AOC. And fam, what this is also doing to me as well, what I'm seeing from this, is the fact that it's getting people to settle for shit. And who's really pushing it? That white moderate you talked about, the white moderate. I think it's the white neoliberal, because I think they're not really moderates anymore. Moderates to me are over here, over there. It's the white neoliberal or the white Democrat and stuff like that. The ones who are actually privileged enough, who really don't suffer from these policies that she's asking you to accept, from everything economically to foreign policy wise. Oh, it's not as bad. It's not as bad. So who says these things? These latte liberals will say, well, we didn't get everything we want, but it's better than Trump. And really, to tell you the truth,
with
that
no
is not acceptable.
Proof, no evidence that it's better. Evidence of the actual opposite. Okay,
yes.
So let's go into actually what is what is actually happening and how people reacted to this, because
that's the matter
it's wrong. Oh, and another thing I wanted to point out that I almost forgot is AOC isn't just saying this about the border. She's running PR for the entire Biden administration.
Yeah.
Talking about how, we're not getting everything we want, but it's better than Trump. In other words, that's what she is doing. And this is what a PR person does. They get in front of the camera because they can't put Joe Biden in front of the camera. So who are they going to put that is an intersectional female that is representative of the new Democratic brand of progressives, none other than AOC.
Yes.
So let's just hear what she says.
Can I say one thing, though, during her defense, fam? And you got to give her some credit. She hasn't been kissing Biden's ass as much as Emma Vigeland. Just want to say that.
Okay.
Joe Biden said for COVID relief he wanted $1.9 trillion. Everybody assumed that would get whittled way down and some much smaller package would ultimately pass. It didn't. It did get cut down a little bit, but not that much. It was basically a $1.9 trillion plan. Sounds to me, from what I hear you saying tonight, that on this one what may happen is that President Biden may say, listen, today in Pittsburgh, I want $2.25 trillion over 8 years, but when it lands in the House, you and your colleagues may say $2.25 trillion is a starting point, but this needs to be a bigger bill. This needs to get larger before the Senate even gets a look at it. Is it fair to expect that that may be the way this goes?
Absolutely. If we could wave a magic wand and progressives in the House were able to name any number and get it through, which obviously isn't the case, but if we're looking at ideals and what we think is the actual investment that can create tens of millions of good union jobs in this country, that can shore up our healthcare, our infrastructure, our housing, and doing it in a way that draws down our carbon emissions to help us get in line with the IPCC standards, we're talking about realistically $10 trillion over 10 years. And I know that may be an eye-popping figure for some people, but we need to understand that we are in a devastating economic moment. Millions of people in the United States are unemployed. We have a truly crippled healthcare system and a planetary crisis on our hands, and we're the wealthiest nation in the history of the world. So we can do 10 trillion. That is a thing of political imagination. However, even when you break it up into those two parts, what's important to remember is that this actually isn't just a progressive versus a moderate issue. You have some of the most conservative members of the Democratic caucus, like Joe Manchin, that have even signaled support for a $4 trillion infrastructure plan, which is double in the numbers.
Okay. Okay, so I wanted to point out a couple things of this interview. She's talking about the infrastructure plan. She's saying they're pushing for 10 million, that even moderates like Joe Manchin are pushing for 10 trillion, and moderates like Joe Manchin are pushing for 4 trillion. But if you notice how her language, right? She doesn't say Medicare for all. She doesn't say a Green New Deal. She doesn't talk about $15 minimum wage. All of these things that she campaigned on are now expanding healthcare, are now getting good union jobs, are now reducing our carbon emissions. You have to understand that her language has shifted because she is no longer fighting for those issues. She has 100% backed off of those issues and is now signal boosting. Oh, so I'm fighting for 10 trillion while the moderates are even accepting half of that. Joe Manchin is accepting half of that. So this isn't about me fighting the moderates in the Democratic Party, because now what they can do is have the Republicans say, oh, no, we don't want any of that. And they're going to be like, see, the Republicans don't want this. And at the end of the day, there is no actual fight going on to get people more jobs, to get people a $15 minimum wage. They didn't even force a vote on that. They couldn't force the vote on healthcare during a pandemic. They couldn't do any of these things that it should be a given. It's 2021. We should already have all these things. And so now they're encouraging you, like, see, we're doing so much better than the Trump administration. Take these crumbs, take them and accept them. Do not complain.
Yeah. Also, too, as well, I can't wait to get a look at this and get my hands on this, too, because I'm going to call it a New Year's Day bill. And when I'm having New Year's Day bill is that every Christmas Eve we would spend at my house, the Italian household, doing the 7 fishes. Christmas Day was our Puerto Rican friends, or rocas candulas, that kind of thing. But New Year's Day, we would go to our Cuban friends because, the 3 families were 1 Puerto Rican, 1 Cuban, 1 Italian. And we'd have inside the pit, fam, a big giant puerquito. There's nothing but pork filled with these bills. And you know damn well in this bill, it's going to be filled with pork, and pork. And it's going to go to like contractors who are never going to live up to what they're supposed to do, pocket a lot of this money, just like the Clinton Foundation does.
Yep.
That's this game. That's how they move money and resources around, okay? And they're and this is the ultimate gaslight. So wait until we get a hold of this bill and we present it. Because you know, fam, you don't even have to see the bill yet to know that the Democrats are going to fill it with pork, because that's what they do in all their bills.
Right, and then so the Republicans come in and they capitulate to the Republicans, and then in the end you end up getting literal pocket change.
Yeah.
This is a game that's replayed over and over and over again. So let's actually talk about what is actually going on. Did you want to?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
That one right there.
So the truth is, guys, that AOC is 100% right, that the conditions are different under Biden. Because under Trump, they had these, these iron fences, the classic iron fences. And under Biden, they put in plexiglass and a TV. So she's right. It's different. It's not the same thing. She's absolutely right. The
only problem, though, is there's twice as many people inside those plexiglass.
Exactly. So actually, of obviously being sarcastic, it's the exact same thing. Plexiglass versus an iron fence doesn't mean anything.
Look at that small-ass TV.
They probably has CNN on it to make them feel like, oh, look, we're fighting for you. Like, this is disgusting. Yeah. These people are packed in like sardines. Yeah. This is something that is a humanitarian crisis. We talk about, we can't believe China and the
I was about to say, but we should listen to Vosh about the Uyghurs and the inhumane treatment. Okay.
Christ.
Sorry, go ahead.
And no, we're not denying a genocide. There is no genocide happening. And this is much closer to a genocide. And in the sense of, this is much closer to a humanitarian crisis. What's happening in Yemen is an actual genocide. What's happening in Palestine is pretty much, they can't even have access to water, to anything. That is more of a genocide. What the liberals and the establishment Republicans and the whole, this whole system weaponize is a humanitarian crisis constantly. Yet in our border, this is what is happening all along. We are packing people into a tiny little room, and 1,700% more than what it should be. This is completely disgusting that she is gaslighting an entire population about what's actually going on, because unfortunately a good amount of people still believe her. The younger generation, of course, thinks she's amazing, and people like Vosh also, who cater to that younger demographic, are misinforming so many people. And another thing I want to point out, that even 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago almost, migrant children were reported by USA Today to actually still be separated from relatives for weeks under the Biden administration.
Wait a second. So, AOC said that it's different, that we're not stripping kids away from their families. And so you're telling me that she lied?
Right. So this is what happens, right? That so there's a rise of influx of these unaccompanied immigrant children, and usually they come with an adult who is not their parent.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's rising, right? The children coming in with an adult that's not their parent. And it says right here, the migrant children often arrive with a grandparent. It is like the 1, 2, 3 paragraph down. Under older siblings or other relative, but are separated until federal officials can confirm the accompanying adult is a relative. As required under U.S. law. The procedure, which is different from the Trump administration of separating immigrant parents, is designed to protect minors from human traffickers and grant them legal protections. But it also classifies the youngsters as unaccompanied minors and places them in federal shelters until a sponsor or adult is vetted. A process that can take several weeks or even months. So, although it's not as dramatic as the Trump era family separations, they're still separating these children, basically. Like they still are. And there's more of these unaccompanied minors coming in without their parent. And that is exactly what's happening. So there's still children being separated from the adult that they're coming with. So she's using completely like blurring the specifics of like, oh, okay, like, are children still being separated from whoever? Yes, it's actually more now that's happening. But because it's not specifically a mom, she's able to say, oh, they're not being separated from their mom. Do you see what she's doing? It gets more fucking disgusting. The thing she is doing, and it angers me so much because of seeing this and seeing her cry about Donald Trump and seeing all these liberals cry about Donald Trump and seeing all these neo-progressives cry about Donald Trump, yelling at Pasta and I because we're like, no, Joe Biden is going to be the same thing. He's going to continue the same thing. And they're like, no, you're privileged for not voting for Biden. And
I know, really. They say that shit. So let's show this shit because this is disgusting here, fam.
So this was what she said in June 18th of 2019. She said, this administration has established concentration camps on the southern border of the United States for immigrants where they are being brutalized with dehumanizing conditions and dying. This is not hyperbole. It is the conclusion of expert analysis. Okay, fast forward to what's the date? February 23rd, 2021. An immediate improvement would be to require influx facilities with children to be licensed. Another issue is whether these services should be contracted out of the way they currently are to begin with, and whether facilities with controversial records, Homestead, should be reopened. So that was her language even in February, and now the situation has obviously gotten 10,000 times worse. That is an actual shift in her language without anything actually changing.
Ladies and gentlemen, can you see what's going on over here? I mean, I'm 100% sure, in my mind, that we're taken down because we've been exposing this woman for a long time, because these are the people we used to roll with, the activists on the streets that still praise her and stand for her and stuff like that. Open your eyes, see what's going on. She's gaslighting and duping you, okay? And anybody who speaks out against her is getting silenced and shut down over the internet. This is awful. They're shoving kids in there and people in there like sardines in a can. Way more than Donald Trump was there. And I don't know about you, fam, but, and I'm not going to praise Donald Trump, but at least he was honest. If you come here, we're going to send you back and whatnot. That might have deterred people from coming, whatnot, and stuff like that. Right? What are they doing to solve the problem?
Right.
They're not doing anything different. They're shoving people in there. They gave him plexiglass and a small fucking TV.
It's the fox versus the wolf.
Yes.
Once again, Malcolm X comes into play with the thing he warned us about, all of these things coming into reality.
Yeah.
Johnny, did you have anything to say about that? Okay.
So now we got this over here from Politico.
So, of course, what is the main thing with AOC right now that has upset a lot of the progressives, even some of the ones that were able to look past her border situation, are even mad at her for this, because this is indefensible right here. This is awful. So what she did was that she went through, so everybody knows that progressives will get mad at you if you go through the DCCC. She has long criticized the D-Trip as this organization that, just continues funneling money to these corporate Democrats who are against Medicare for all, a $15 minimum wage, etc. So because she knows this, she went around that, got their wire transfer information from the D-Trip, right? Because there's no way she can directly wire money to them unless she has their information. So what she did was she went after, she got their money, their bank account information. And what did she do? She sent them all $5,000, equaling to an amount of $160,000.
Who did she send it to, fam?
She sent this money to not only corporate Dems, but some CIA Democrats.
Oh.
CIA military industrial complex, national security state riddled Democrats. And the worst part is what happened is that these Dems who are in vulnerable districts that are swing states were like, shit, we don't know if we want her money because Republicans hate her. So they were like, AOC, this is a mistake. Or they were like, we might have to, why did you give us this money? We're really surprised. So they exposed her, which is the most ironic part, because they're complaining about getting money from AOC.
Corporate Democrats were like, hey, not for nothing, AOC, but we don't want your,
your scuttle.
We don't want your scuttle over here. Oh my God! I saw Dick Medhurst made a whole tweet about this before, saying, no, AOC didn't take money from a corporate PAC, but she just gave corporate Democrats money. It's like, hello.
And so basically what the progressives are saying is like, oh yeah, well she had to do it because we need a Democratic supermajority. No, I'm sorry.
That's what they keep saying, that bullshit. What good is a Democratic supermajority if the progressives get nothing for it? You got zero bupkis.
Besides that, though,
Yes.
giving Democrats who are against every single thing you stand for,
Including Medicare for all.
including a minimum wage, including any Green New Deal, anything like that. They are against that. They actually are actively fighting against it. Makes zero sense. So let's look at this. This is what she did. So let's see. Some of these members, like DCCC Chair Rep. Sean Patrick Maloney and his top staffers, are wondering why the hell she gave them money. And it seems like the DCCC aides gave lawmakers wire transfer information to Ocasio-Cortez's aides without the approval of more senior officials. So they're saying like, oh, some of this was a mistake. And it's, if you go down to the next paragraph, while some are grateful for the infusion of cash, at least 3 Democrats have so far declined the initial transfer, said they would return the money. Reps Connor Lamb of Pennsylvania, Carolyn Bordeaux of Georgia, and Elisa Slotkin, this one is specifically big-time CIA, of Michigan, according to multiple sources. So some people said it was an error by the D-Trip, as I said, and it's like Chris Hayden, who's a spokesperson for the D-Trip, said, "We appreciate Rep. AOC's ongoing commitment to a Democratic majority. Due to a miscommunication, some transfers were made in error, but that has been addressed." So now they're like, oh, well, this must have been an error, AOC, because now she's exposed. So they're also exposing themselves or exposing each other. They're all like running around like chickens with their head cut off, trying to figure out, what do we do? Because she got so much backlash for this. And
there was a big push about this shit a long time ago, fam. Remember with the whole thing that she was gonna, the media and everybody went out there that she's gonna give money to progressives, to primary against Democrats and stuff like that. She didn't give money to progressives. She gave money to corporate Dems, and some gave it back. I mean, that's how that has got to be ridiculous. And go to Paula Jean Swearigan here, because this is important right now. Welcome back, Paula Jean.
So Paula Jean, who was, of course, in the film on Netflix, what was it? Knock Down the House or something? Bringing
Down the House? Or?
No, Bringing Down the House is the other movie.
Sorry, my bad. Boomer moment.
So Paula Jean was also part of the Brand New Congress and the Justice Democrats, right? And so she started talking about something that Niko pointed out, where she was like saying they were all like taking money away from these candidates and giving it to AOC. So she started kind of like exposing her. Well, she also saw this and said, this is not what we supported when we started. Pretty sure AOC is batting for what the party wanted her to do, not what will help pass the policies we need. I'm highly disappointed with my colleague, and I won't align myself with her anymore.
It's about time.
This is big, because this is somebody that was one of the candidates, as I said, and she's calling her out now blatantly. And a lot of people have lost faith in AOC, right? But it gets worse, because I want to point out some specific people that AOC gave money to. And this is, of course, going to go right down with the fact that
the World Socialist website, Eric London, our good friend. Not right on everything, but right on some things.
So, okay, so if you go to the third paragraph down, or the second paragraph down, actually. So the list of frontline candidates includes many prominent CIA Democrats, whom, according to the World Socialist website, they identified as having been former representatives of the Pentagon and intelligence agencies. And if you guys want to read that later, they published a 3-part series detailing the efforts of the military intelligence agencies to flood the Democratic Party with loyal operatives. We talked about this back when Pete Buttigieg was, running for president, that they literally did flood that whole thing with CIA operatives. So let's note some of these beneficiaries of AOC's financial support. So as I mentioned, Elisa Slotkin is a former CIA agent, and Connor Lamb was a Marine captain and a military prosecutor. Tom Malinowski of New Jersey was the Assistant Secretary of State under Barack Obama. Abigail Spanberger was the CIA operations officer, and Elaine Luria was a Navy commander, and both of Virginia, Mike Sherrill was a Navy pilot in the Middle East, and Andy Kim was advisor to the U.S. Military Command, Afghanistan and Iraq, director for the National Security Council. Both of New Jersey, and Darrett Golden of Maine was a Marine infantryman. But specifically, I want to focus on Elisa Slotkin.
Yeah.
So her and Lamb have indicated they're going to return the donations because they fear the Republican opponents don't want them associated, right? But this, I want to go down. I think it's a few paragraphs down here. Okay, so here it is. Elisa Slotkin, like I said, she was the Iraq director for the National Security Council. She also, and this was under Barack Obama, served as a senior assistant to John Negroponte. Okay, he was the director of the National Intelligence, and he was responsible for 19 U.S. intelligence agencies. 19 U.S. intelligence agencies. And this is significant because AOC is supposed to be the defender of immigrants, blaming imperialism in one of her last posts, generalizing that imperialism is forcing people to flee their homes. But Negroponte was a U.S. ambassador to Honduras from 1981 to 1985, overseeing the U.S.-backed death squad of the Contras. If you guys recall the Contra situation, this caused, of course, civil wars in Guatemala, Salvador, and Nicaragua.
More than anything.
He was, of course, an imperialist, a war criminal, facilitating the genocide against the Central American workers and peasants.
Yes, and they killed children, they killed mothers, they killed babies, they killed everything. And I saw a video this morning, fam, and I'll let you get on, but I was looking at the Global South, and they were grabbing a little 12-year-old kid, and the thing that really stuck out me more than anything is, once again, they're walking through these streets, the military, with American hardware. American guns, American ammo, American shields, American, what do you call those, vests and everything. They have American water cans, all American-made stuff are given to these oppressive, militaristic fucking regimes that override these people and just keep them in the dark, keep them starving, keep them poor. They brutalize them, and that's why we have such a migration problem here to the United States, including Mr. Joe Biden giving Chile a fucking weapons deal right out of the gate, and then also denying the people of Haiti their due. You know what I'm saying? And backing, once again, the oppressive government in Haiti that needs to be out.
And like, exactly. So the drug problem, the cartel problem, is also related to U.S. imperialism.
Exactly.
So either AOC knows this and she's doing it because, whatever, or she does it and do her research and just sends people money that she shouldn't send money. And either way, it's bad because we need to have people in Congress who know what the fuck they're doing. Like, I would never send money to people without researching, and especially a CIA operative in the Democratic Party that is literally responsible in working with some of the main creators of this situation that we have at the border. But she also gave money to Connor Lamb. And if you guys recall, during July 2008, Connor Lamb, in the middle of the Trump administration, was actually in favor of the zero tolerance policy. He was one of Democrats who actually voted for a resolution introduced by far-right Republican Clay Higgins, who praised the ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency. And the resolution specifically praised the brave men and women who enforce our national immigration laws and our nation's immigration laws, and opposed any calls to defund and abolish ICE. And they called it like what AOC called a Gestapo agency. Remember when she was talking about, we need to abolish ICE, we need to do this? Well, she gave money to a guy who is literally against that. So that is another one I wanted to point out.
See, a lot of people too will also have to understand, like, because I've been hearing people say this as of late. Well, we can't pull out of the global south because if we get out, China will get in there. Okay, so we can pull out and make resolutions to say these people can stand on their own feet and determine their own leaders and their own pathway. And we can make sure that other people stay out. We can form an organization, I don't want to say the UN or whatnot and stuff like that, to make sure places like the North Triangle can be in charge of their own destiny. And elect their own leaders and take care of their own people without the interference of the West.
Yeah, and China hasn't been invading people and trying to coup them.
They've been invading them with infrastructure and money to help them out.
Okay, so Johnny, if you go down, there's a picture of a blonde-haired woman. If you go down there.
Who's that?
Okay, so Abigail Spanberger is another person AOC gave money to. She was the ex-CIA officer who launched a vicious denunciation of socialism. She blamed AOC for losses in congressional elections.
She gave her money.
In a recorded call among House Democrats, she said, we need to not ever use the word socialist or socialism ever again. And AOC gave her money. Okay, she gave her freaking money. This is insane. This is insane. And so I just wanted to point out those. I mean, there's a lot more that you guys can read that on that, but it's pretty much AOC is giving money to these corporate Dems. And guys, like the CIA thing is real. I mean, these people, you can go on the internet, search their names, and you're going to find that they worked for the intelligence community, that they worked for the military industrial complex, that they worked for the National Security Council. These people are imperialists, they're warmongers, they're deep state, and AOC gave them money. Either she's an idiot and doesn't look at who she's giving money to, or she knows what she's doing and this is all a ploy and whatever. But I think she's just, I don't know. It's hard for me to say, because like looking at the things I've been looking at with her previous connections to CIA operatives, it's becoming really strange of all these things that she's doing.
Yeah. There was talk about this back in the days, fam. There was really talks about that she'd gone over to Africa, who funded it, what was going on. And I think a lot of us kind of turned the head and were like, oh, come on, give me a break, whatnot. Right. We looked at the attacks on her livelihood growing up as just far-right Republican racist kind of attacks. But, you know, now we're seeing a lot of things come to fruition, her energy and her actions and her words. Somebody said the other day, I wonder who's advising AOC. I would really like to get to the bottom of who's giving her information. And one of our followers said the CIA. Like, and I laughed hysterically. I gave it a nice good heart, a like and shit. But it really is, it's beyond suspicious at this point. All the dots are connected. The language is there. It's like you said that one tweet a long time ago. It took you one election cycle to herd you people back into the Democratic Party. And the people that are inside this Democratic Party, these progressives who still think that they're changing it from the inside, I mean, you have to wake up. There is no home for you. There is no room for changing this party. Okay, whatsoever. You're not going to reform it. Get out of it and start something of your own. That's the way we do it. We get our butts in the streets, our bodies in the streets. We form whatever, even if it's an independent or just causes, and then we get out there. There is no place. I'm even asking people right now, why is it better to run as a Democrat? Why not run as a Republican? And a person who said he was going to run as a Democrat, he told me the other day, well, I'd never run as a Republican. I said, what's the difference? How is the Democratic Party any different? If anything, they're more insidious with their lies and duping people, and you're not going to get anywhere in that party. You're not going to win and then change it, stuff like that.
I don't think
you have to play ball. You have to get along to get in, and that's it. And if you don't get along, you know what I'm saying, you're not going to get in. So, like I said before, sometimes when you lose, you actually win, and sometimes when you win, like AOC did, you lose and the people lose.
So yeah, I don't agree with running as a Republican or a Democrat. The duopoly works for the oligarchy. It's an illusion.
Yeah.
Doing either one is a mistake. Voting for either one is a mistake. As long as we continue perpetuating the system, we're never going to break free of it. And like I said, we don't even have fair elections right now to actually have third-party candidates, which is a whole other thing. But I want to stay on the topic of the AOC defenders, because of course, right out of the gate, who comes to AOC's defense?
TYT.
Well, TYT, of course, John. I don't know how to say his name.
Jardula.
And
John
Annika Kashparian, and they came to her defense on the damage report, and we're going to watch what they say, and then we're going to watch a rebuttal to it as well. So basically, they said, when you're a Republican or a wannabe leftist on Twitter, the easiest thing to do is draw attention to yourself is attack AOC. So let's just hear exactly what
I think that AOC is someone who generates a lot of media attention. And when you are a Republican lawmaker or a wannabe leftist on Twitter, one of the easiest ways to draw attention to yourself is to attack one of the most popular members of Congress. If you have legitimate critique for AOC, I think that that's worth listening to. But clearly there was none of that with Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean, there's very little substance with that woman to begin with. But this is a little trick that I see happening with people who just want to draw attention to themselves. I would be far more interested in hearing whether Marjorie Taylor Greene has any policy proposals or solutions for the instability that Americans are feeling today. Does she have anything to say about that? Or is she going to continue latching onto culture war issues and attacking AOC in order to give people the illusion of actually working on their behalf. That's what, Marjorie Greene is doing. That's what most GOP lawmakers are doing. And the second we see them doing it, guys, we need to refuse to take the bait and call it what it is. It's nothing more than posturing and giving people the optics of working for them, when in reality, these lawmakers are doing nothing for their constituents. They're doing nothing in providing solutions for the absolute bleak future that we're dealing with right now, and the bleak present that we're dealing with right now. That's really what's going on here. That's it. That's all it is.
Dude, they have become such a mainstream media light channel with that stuff like that. And really,
right?
how sad is it that you got 204 likes and 177, you're almost ratio, it's 177 comments, 15.5 thousand
No, they
views.
are
Fiorella gets that on a bad tweet, okay? I get more than this and shit. You were given $25 million, okay, from Jeffrey Katzenberg to be a good little soldier, and you've done nothing with it. People are onto your shit. Let's give some honest criticism here, Anna. You never have anybody on that can push back against you. You hide. You block people. Okay.
I'm blocked.
So let's. So am I. I've been blocked by Anna. Okay. Let's be honest there. So everybody's onto your shit. They know what a fake, phony corporation news channel you are. You're just a little good foot soldier. You took the money. You sold out. Go away. If not, have the stones to have somebody on that could push back on you and give you the honest, validated criticism of AOC and the rest of the neo-progressives who have done ugats for us. Sorry, fam.
Yeah, so a couple things I want to point out here. She went after leftists on Twitter, of course, including us, including everybody that has criticized her, right? A wannabe leftist.
Yeah.
No, we're actual leftist, AOC, or AOC, Anna. It's almost interchangeable at this point. She also said give rightful criticisms. So it's not rightfully okay to criticize her on gaslighting and lying about the border crisis. It's not okay to criticize her for literally giving Democrats, corporate Democrats money and funding CIA candidates. Yeah. That's not okay. For pushing this fascistic type of crypto fascism that she's pushing. It's not okay to criticize her on that. So what is okay to criticize her on? And then the worst part, Pasta, she brings up Marjorie Taylor Greene. What is Marjorie Taylor Greene have to do with the progressive movement? She's a Republican.
Jesus.
She's a Republican. Did we donate money to Marjorie Taylor Greene thinking she was going to give us Medicare for all or a Green New Deal or a $15 minimum wage
it's
or go
CIA
and
tactics,
fight
fam.
Fight the establishment?
Look over here again. Look over here.
I'm sorry. I didn't even know who Marjorie Taylor Greene was before she attacked AOC. I didn't even know anything about her. I didn't put my faith in her. It's the same arguments of people saying, oh, this is sexism, misogyny, because it's racism too, because she's a woman of color. No, it's the fact that a lot of people, poor people, working class people gave her money to fight the establishment. We didn't give her money to tweet at Republicans. That's not what we fucking did. And here is Anna Kasparian. She knows this. Fucking gaslighting, just like AOC.
Yep.
Oh, these people, they're just mean and they just want attention on themselves. Yeah. No, we don't want attention. We want to expose this woman because we already went through it with Barack Obama. We've already gone through it with Nancy Pelosi when she was young. She was promising healthcare for all before I was even born, and now she's refusing to bring it to a floor vote. Come on, what the hell?
Can I say something too? Anybody from the MCSC network, we're ready for you. Anybody from TYT, Cenk Uygur, John Ayadarola, Anna Kay, if you want to debate, you want to have us on your show, you want to come on our show, you want to pick a neutral site, you want to debate on anything, we're here. Put that $25 million from Katzenberger's money where your mouth is, okay? If you want to have anywhere you want to go, but we know you'll never do it because all you do is you stay in your own little echo chamber and you just blah, 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 blah. Look at your views. Look at your likes. They're sinking. You're sinking. Have some stones and have somebody credible on that could push back on your bullshit that you're spewing.
And Dave Weigel, before we go into the rebuttal, that's really a good rebuttal, I want to point this out because non-voting felon, Johnny, if you click on the tweet, if you guys recall, right, this video has been making its rounds. Let's play it. But I want to specify, this video is from right after she won her primary in 2008. We played it before. This is what she said. This was a first red flag for us. And we were like, oh, is she just playing ball? Is she going to, let's see what happens when she gets in there. This is 2018. when she freaking won the seat. Now let's listen to what she says here about Pelosi.
One of the things that I admire so much about Leader Pelosi is that she comes from a space of activism and organizing, and so I think that she really appreciates civic engagement.
Okay. So
it's kind of funny, because when Pelosi first got in office, she was pushing Medicare for all with that little with that little. I think our friend, one of the Fred Hampton leftists, pointed out, Nick, the fact he put that tweet up there, and I retweeted it. The fact that when she got into office, Pelosi was doing the same thing. It's just rhetoric, banter, propaganda, lip service. The Milli Vanillis of politics are the Democratic Party as a whole.
So non-voting fellow had said AOC is right. We should admire the time Pelosi organized the Iraq War with Biden and Bush. Okay, so then to retort that, Dave Weigel says, this video is from November 2018. The clues AOC calling her Leader Pelosi, not speaker, keeps bouncing around as a Twitter faction argues that AOC has sold out. The faction is confused. You see this arrogance, this like condescension from Dave Weigel. He works for the Washington Post, by the way.
Such a prick.
He works for the Washington Post. That's all you need to know. But here's the thing. What happened with Pelosi? Yes, Pelosi voted against the Iraq war. But what you have to understand in politics, it's not all about the vote. Pelosi also admitted that she knew there were no weapons of mass destruction. Yeah. And she continued, after not voting for it, working with Bush and Biden to actually push the war, even though she didn't vote for it. That's what happened. And that's what he's pointing out. So here's Dave Weigel of the Washington Post, of course, gaslighting and making it about, oh, no, but that's not, she didn't vote for it. So what we're talking about AOC here. We're talking about her praising Pelosi from the start. People are starting to see like, damn, we should have seen this from the beginning. We were all enamored by her, thinking like she was going to be different, and we overlooked something. Same with Bernie Sanders, but especially with her, because she's to the right of Bernie Sanders, and it's insane to me that it's so quick, right? The shift is so quick. She's been in Congress 2+ years, has done absolutely nothing tangible. Give me one thing she has done for you. I swear to God, give me one tangible thing she's done. And people are realizing, holy crap, this is how she was from the beginning. Maybe, I don't know. So that's what people are questioning.
I want to also point out that Nancy Pelosi knew about torture and kept her mouth shut for a long fucking time. She knew about it and she okayed it. She turned a blind eye when it came to torturing that went on, and grab ass, all those fucking places and stuff. She knew, and she said nothing. She did nothing to hold anybody accountable for torture. You know, somebody said to me the other day, real quick before we get to my boy Rome over here and play this video, is that back in the days, 30 years ago, when you watch a TV show, the guy who was being tied up and tortured was the good guy, and the guy torturing was the bad guy. Movies today, it's totally different. Nowadays, the guy torturing is the good guy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The guy being tortured is the bad guy. They flipped everything on its head. The CIA is really, it's years and years of propaganda, Operation Mockingbird, all this bullshit, getting people inside of media, duping people is really, really paid off right now. And it's a big fucking kabuki theater in front of us, and we got to recognize it for what it is and call these assholes out. And by the way, the fact I love about this tweet, fam, from Rome, is that you see the likes, 877, a lot different than John Iadorola's tweet, the damage report.
I love it.
They're doing damage control right now, but there's very little you can do. It's the Titanic at the TYT.
Let's hear it.
It's Anna and TYT. Just spewing their bullshit everywhere. Nobody is attacking this woman. People are calling out bullshit because that is exactly what they smell. This woman ran as a revolutionary, but now that she got her power, she's a reformist. She ran on Medicare for all, but now she's on Instagram telling my nieces and nephews how good Cobra is. She funneled grassroots money from poor people to a corporate Democrat who not only did not need the money, they didn't even want the money. So people are calling out bullshit. And you know what else is some bullshit? The majority. Which is something that they have right now. And if they want to keep the majority, you know what would be a good idea? How about this? You just do your motherfucking job. And see, this is your audience problem. They don't see your hustle. They want you in this cycle of Oh, now it's time to fight the Democrats. We are the left-leaning Democrats. Oh, now it's time to be a Democrat because we all we got. People did not give this woman money and time out of our poor lives. It just flopped over. And you want to talk about fake? That shit doesn't make you fake. It makes you informed of what's going on. But if you want to talk about what's fake is y'all taking all them millions of dollars. What's fake is y'all never actually being on the ground feeding the poor. What's fake is you motherfuckers. People's lives are on the line here. And we have every right to speak up because we are the people who made this woman powerful and famous. So get the fuck out of here with that bullshit that you're spewing everywhere.
TYT. Fam, can we get Unholy Rome on the show?
Yeah, we should. He's
John,
great.
you want to get Unholy Rome on the show? Yeah. Let's get it. What, y'all out there, ladies and gentlemen, you want to see Unholy Rome on the show? Let's go out there, retweet that stuff. Get
Fred
on.
Hampton leftist, by the way. He's part of the...
He is a Fred Hampton leftist?
Yeah.
Oh, so far, I love what I see out of the Fred Hampton leftist. So far, I love what I see out of the Fred Hampton leftist. We've had Nick on the show before. We had him on Election Day. We'll get him on again. But I want to get Unholy Rome on for sure. That was some real shit there. Just calling out TYT for what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not calling them out because we like to be shit talkers. We're calling them out because they're costing people lives. They're duping people. They're sheep herding people. And the poorest of poor, those are the people who are suffering most. So for you to say that it's okay to go along with these people because they most align with our ideology, you're the fucking privileged ones.
Yeah, and you pointed out something extremely important. Again, it's poor people gave money to AOC. And they like literally money that they didn't have, and now she has flip-flopped completely. And it's so, and these people who put her in office and who gave her all this money and, like he said, made her famous, have every freaking right to criticize her. And anybody telling you otherwise, I'm going to use the same words from AOC and from Anna Kasparian, and anybody telling you that you shouldn't be criticizing AOC is in it for the wrong reasons. They're in it because they want to keep their place. They're in it because they want to keep their power. Because this isn't about making sure AOC becomes the next Nancy Pelosi for us. This is about making sure she fucking does her job as a public servant. She works for me. She works for you. She doesn't work for the, she's not supposed to work for the corporations. That's why we elected her.
She works for the CIA.
But now it seems that she doesn't work for us and she works for the CIA. This is right. The whole point of a public servant is to serve the public. None of these fucks are serving the public. None of them.
That's the whole argument a guy I have against corporations when against capitalism. Well, people are like, capitalism's the way. I'm like, in a capitalist system, when everything's for sale, that includes your government. And they can buy it all up and dupe the people. And it's just PR from the progressives that you really think were there to fight for you when they're not. I'm sorry, but you got duped. Get the hell out of the Democratic Party now. Get out of the Republican Party now. Goodbye. Gone.
I just wanted to reiterate, too, that you guys notice on the day when AOC's defenders couldn't defend her, sending corporate candidates all this money, and how she was gaslighting how well Biden has been with immigrants. They have to go and attack and smear those of us pointing the truth out. Okay, because a congresswoman was exposed as a fraud and they need to distract from that fact. So they were trying hard to distract, posting where my father used to work, posting, trying to say I'm not a woman of color, trying to say I'm not Latina, trying to take away from my ethnicity. They're still going on and on about that. They were talking about Richard Medhurst and his what he did before. They were talking about Glenn Greenwald being a fascist and all of these things, that these attacks, the gray zone being a genocide deniers, all like Russian assets. I mean, it's classic tactics. I'm just saying, note the timing of these things happening and note who is doing this, because these are people that are basically just there to make sure you go back into the Democratic Party and keep in line with the Democratic Party. So,
Comrade Misty, who once told somebody, do something with your life, buy a plant, do something. What did she say?
Right. So Nick said AOC went from primary corporate Democrats to give them money real quick. And so Misty retweeted that saying, putting this meme, AOC ain't our comrade.
Woo!
Because
look at that. We should get that. We get a picture for the bathroom right there.
Bathroom. Oh my God.
I don't know. I mean, we gotta get a picture somewhere, you know.
Okay, so this is Ryan Knight, who of course has also been attacked for pretty much calling her out as well, said, in the past week alone, AOC has called socialists bad faith actors, said Biden's cruelty at the border is better than Trump's cruelty.
Yeah.
Sent campaign donations to Democrats who oppose Medicare for all, and also Democrats who are CIA. AOC is not leading the left. She is stabbing the left in the back. And she isn't leading the left. She's absolutely right, like stabbing the left in the back, and anybody has the right to freaking criticize her.
You know, I was tough on Ryan Knight and stuff like that. I haven't been following him, but I did kind of put up a tweet he put up last week. He's been saying a lot of great stuff as of late. So, you know, if you like to get at us too and come on the show, we've never had you here. We'd love to have some more conversations with you as well. I mean, I shouldn't probably say that. I should probably ask the crew. But I think when he's putting up tweets like this, fam, he should have a right to say what he wants to say. He does keep evolving. There was some things he said that I don't like, but that was really, really on the nose. And for him to have the stones to move away from what he was involved with before and have this type of rhetoric, right. I got to tip my hat off to him.
I'd rather see people evolving in a short time span, which a lot of us have evolved in a short time span. Like even, you know, a year and a half ago, I was still on the Bernie train. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? It's like crazy. Like how there's no way. How can you not be radicalized right now? How can you not see what's actually happening behind the scenes, right? When you start talking to people and expand your learning and start watching what other people are talking about, of course, and start reading shit, you're gonna get radicalized. I'd rather see that than see what Ryan Grimm's doing, because I didn't even put it in there, but Ryan Grimm attacked Ryan Knight with a tweet from 2020. He just brought up a tweet saying, well, if I was for 18 years supported Democrats and then all of a sudden, saw that was wrong, I would be a little bit less arrogant and more humble. And he started attacking him. And it's like, Ryan Grimm works for the fucking Intercept. Like, come on. Like he's consistently going to bat for the Democratic Party. And the reason some of these people who are blue checks and are these journalists like Dave Weigel and Ryan Grimm are constantly like protecting AOC is because they have to, because they literally directly benefit from that. If they go against the hand that feeds, they're not going to be the gatekeepers anymore. They're not going to be these established, honored type of journos that get the best of everything and get this information, the best interviews and all, because that it's convenient for them. If AOC and the whole progressive, brand new Congress squad, whatever, goes down and is exposed as frauds, then what happens to them? Well, they can't do what they're doing anymore. So you have to start noticing these things and where the money comes from, who these people work for. It's all connected.
Yeah. Johnny, anything else on this and stuff like that? I had enough of AOC already, really, to tell you the truth. I've known this woman to be a phony for quite some time. We've all been saying this for a long time. And TYT, we've been saying the same thing. And anytime they're ready, pick somebody. Pick this person versus that person. Pick any network, any platform. We can do it here. We can do it there. We can do it
They're
anywhere.
not going to do it, Pasta.
We know you're not going to do it, but I want to put it on record on what chicken shits they are. TYT.